So we've got this 2012 Mercedes Vito in. The customer's got this original key already, and they're just wanting a replacement. So there's only got one key, just wanting a spare key. It's a smart system, so it's not a keyed ignition, where you've got the smart key going in and twisting. This video we're just going to cover some comparison between the different tools that we've got on the market. So we're running a comparison between the Autel 508 with the XP400 Pro. This XP400 Pro enables a lot of the programming available on Mercedes. It uses its own key, so we've got a Autel compatible key. This is the original, and this is the Autel version. So quite a nice chrome-sided key, good weight to it, and good quality also. So we've got that as an option. We're going to have a look at the Smart Pro from Advanced Diagnostics. With this Smart Pro, this is giving some options on Mercedes key programming. You need the actual Smart Pro, a bit like this, where you need the Mercedes to program on Mercedes on Autel. You need the main unit, the 508. You need the XP400 Pro and this little cable that comes with the XP400 Pro, which will go into the dashboard, into the ignition switch, and read the password from the vehicle. So that's part of the programming procedure. So with the Smart Pro, you're required to have obviously the OBD cable that plugs in the OBD, and this again, which reads the password. It comes with this little aerial here, and with that you can connect the original key in here and read data, and put the Silka remote that's compatible with the Advanced Diagnostics Smart Pro. So again, for this tool it requires the Silka key. For this tool it requires a specific Mercedes key. And the last one we're looking at is the XHorse, the Key Tool Pro, or Key 2 Pro Plus it also gets called. With this tool, this can do Mercedes, and again we've got a Mercedes XHorse compatible remote, specifically used for XHorse programmer. So first thing to look at is the costs of the unique remote for each. Luckily they're all about the same price. So the XHorse option is about £30. The aftermarket one that the Autel uses is about £24. And then the Silka, they use their own specific remote for the Smart Pro. This remote here, you can see the part number just on top there, HU106S23, which is this remote here. This remote covers all these vehicles, and we've got a Vito 2012, so it covers that one. And this remote is about £32. So pricing of the actual remotes, the free options, they're all about the same price. So that's that. Now we'll move on to the actual knowledge and the compatibility with this vehicle. So when a job comes through, you're never plugged on to the vehicle. So I'd like to try, the purpose of this video is not just to get one of these programmers on the vehicle here and start doing some programming, because there's only so much you can learn from that if essentially we're just following the on-screen instructions. What the purpose of this video is to show you that when you're an Auto Locksmith, you're driving along down the road, what you need to know is, does your vehicle cover this 2012 Mercedes Vito? And if it does cover the programming, do you need any working keys to add a key? Can you do it if all keys are lost? And importantly as well, the password. So do you need the password for the immobiliser? Is your tool going to read the password for the immobiliser? So this password or pin code, as it gets called, immobiliser pin code, is required as part of the programming. So if you haven't got that pin code, you're not going to be able to program. So you need to know whether you need to have it, order it, or if your tool's going to bypass it or read it. So there's quite a few options. So the purpose of this video is to not connect to the car, not connect to the van here, is just pretend that the phone has rang, someone's told you they've got a Mercedes Vito, they've got one working key and they just want a spare key. And if we can work that out from the programmer, then that'll determine the programmer's a good tool. Whether it actually covers a job or not is another thing. The purpose of this video is to know whether if it could do it without being plugged into it. And this is where you'll see some tools shine better than others. So let's have a look on the Autel, as it's a more popular tool. It's been out longer than this tool and is cheaper than all three of them. So we'll start with the Autel, and on the main menu here, and from the main menu we can type in Mercedes, get it in focus. So Mercedes-Benz you've got, and you've got Mercedes-Benz LD. LD is light duty, heavy duty would be trucks, light duty would be vans, and Mercedes-Benz will be cars. So we're going to go with Mercedes-Benz LD. So it says make sure we're connected to the diagnostic link connector. We can't be because we're not at the job. So we've got to pretend that we're not at the job, and all we're trying to work out for now is if this could do it or not do it. So we're going to press OK for now. It's loading up the program. We can't go automatic selection because when this AVD isn't plugged into the vehicle, we're in a lay-by, we've pulled over because the customer says they've got a 2012 Vito, and we need to, before ordering a key, travelling out to the job, and cutting a pull-out key and then trying to program it, we need to know whether it can do it or not. So we can't go automatic selection because that requires you to be plugged into the vehicle, and we can't use these either. So we're going to go manual and go manual selection, and we're just trying to work out if this tool covers this vehicle on this year. So it's not a Sprinter, it's a Vito. So far we know it will cover Mercedes vans, it will cover a Vito, and it will cover Vitos from 2004 to 2008, 2009 to 14. This is a 2012, so we're going to go with that one because it's in the middle of them two. So is it saying, is it a Mercedes Vito 09 to 14, which it is because it's a 2012, so press yes. Right, so again, we can't go for control unit because we need to be connected, or immobiliser information because we need to be connected to the OBD port of the vehicle, and we're not plugged into the vehicle. We're just in a lay-by. So we're going to go with, or if you're not mobile, you'll be in the office trying to work out this on the tool. There's no app for this tool, which is quite a problem. You have to actually load the tool up and check in this way. Hot functions. So we can see that we can do all keys lost, and we can see we can do add a key. So that's add a key if you've got a key, or all keys lost are these two options if you've got no keys. So that's a good thing to know, but we need to also know whether we can get the PIN code or not. So even if it can add a key, if you say take that job on, get to the job and it says insert the 12-digit PIN code and you haven't got it, then you can't add a key. So we'll just keep going, and we know it can now add a key. Right, so it says, are you adding this key on the vehicle? Like, actually get this OBD port, plug it into it, this connector, plug it into there, and the other side into the vehicle's OBD port, and connect on the vehicle direct. Or are you programming on the bench? So that means where someone's actually got this EIS, this electronic ignition switch, they've removed it from the vehicle and they've sent that to you in the post. If that's the case where they've done that, then that's on the bench. So that is a useful feature. It's useful that it can do on the bench programming, but this is on vehicle. So we're going to go on vehicle. So it says reading vehicle information. So hopefully it's not expecting us to be connected, which I think it is. So that looks like it's trying to read vehicle information. Obviously, we're not at the vehicle, and what we still haven't found out is it going to get the PIN code? Right, unable to read vehicle information. So this is where this programmer fails, because you can't order this key in, know that job can be done if this won't read the PIN code. If you don't even know if you need the PIN code, or it's going to read the PIN code or bypass the PIN code. So at that point, we can't go any further. Making this tool unusable. Once you're connected to the vehicle and you're at the job and you've ordered the key and you've travelled out and you got to the job and you're connected to the vehicle, it might work or it might ask for a PIN code. We don't know. So in a realistic world of a busy locksmith, you couldn't use this tool. The only way you could use this tool is go on the Autel group. So Autel have a really good Facebook group. There's quite a lot of groups available for Autel, and put a message in there like you'll see in these groups where someone will say, has anyone done a Mercedes 2012 Vito? Someone might get back to him. That might be really quick, in like 5 minutes. Someone might get back to him and say, yeah, I did one 2 weeks ago. It did everything and read the PIN code or bypassed the PIN code. At that point, then you would know you could do it. You could ring your customer back 5 minutes later and say, I can do it, and try and secure the job. But again, taking it back to real life, I've been a locksmith for over 15 years, over 17 years or so. Customers don't hang around and wait for you to call them back 5 minutes later. If you say you'll call them back in 2 minutes, they'll be on Google, calling the next person, and if they've got a different tool that will give them them answers, then that deposit will be secured in, and the job will be gone. So that by the time you ring them 5 minutes later, confirming that you can do the job with your Autel, with your XP400, the job's gone anyway. So they've paid a deposit to someone else, and you're not getting a job. So that's how it works in real life. And also, you can't be pulling over when you're driving, loading up this tool and doing these menus to find this out. Ideally, you need a proper app, coverage list, website or something with fully definite answers, and not only if you can do a key, if you're going to get the password as well. So that counts the Autel out, although once I connect it to the vehicle, it would probably work. We can't take the job on the back of that. Moving up in price, we'll go to the XHorse next. So on the XHorse, we go to nice interface and all that. So we've got the original key here and the XHorse alternative remote. But we need to know if we can do the job. So we're going to go with IMO programming. That's how you get to the OBD key programming section. To slim the list down, we're going to go with Europe because it's a Mercedes. And if you search for Mercedes, it won't be there because it's not called Mercedes. You've only got Maserati there. It's called Benz. It's not Benz Smart. So a lot of people see this as a smart key. Well, it is a smart key, a keyless key potentially. If you go Benz Smart, that's the little smart roadsters and smart 4.4 and stuff like that. So what you want is just the Benz option. We can't automatically diagnose models. That means we connected this to the vehicle and it's then going to pull the VIN number, work out what Mercedes we're plugged into. We've got to pretend we're not connected, so go through vehicle selection options. This is where this menus again get confusing, because ideally as humans we want make, model, year, and then we want information. So if we've got make, Mercedes or Benz, and then no models, then it gets quite complicated of where to go from here. So some people might go into special functions, and you can see that's not key programming. Key programming is not in there. It's not in any of these options either, like write key or prepare key as such. You have to actually know that the EIS is the electronic ignition switch, which is the part where you put this key into in the dashboard and turn it. That's the EIS. So you have to know that first of all. And if you don't know that, you'll be stuck to where you're meant to be going. You go to EIS. And yeah, so through here, you've got chassis versions. So unless you know your Mercedes chassis versions, it can get quite complicated. Ideally, we want models like A-Class, C-Class, E-Class, and then years as well, but it can get quite confusing. So if we just go with start programming, if you was connected to the vehicle, to the OBD at the job live, you would press auto detect and it would work it out, but we're not, and therefore if you don't know these chassis numbers, it gets quite confusing to knowing anything really. So if you don't know these answers, you can't really move on and you can't do anything. So this is at this point where you would get stuck. You could pick one randomly and hope you get it right, but there'll be no guarantee to, even if it said you could do it, that you actually selected the right vehicle in the first place. So yeah, we'll just pick randomly that one. And now we can read data and we can do all this. But because there's so many buttons, this is again where people get lost. Because like they say, oh, do I enable key first, or do I write the VIN first? Do I do this? It's not necessarily in order where you'd go through all of them. You would definitely want to do all of them. You would only use certain ones in certain orders. And unless you know how this system works and what you're meant to be doing, whether you read the data, then write the key, then program it into the vehicle or whatever else, it again can get quite confusing. So especially for a beginner, although this tool is pretty good on Mercedes, BMW and some Volkswagen Audi Group vehicles, it's lacking on other manufacturers. Some simple things like Ford, Renault, Peugeot, Citroën, it can be pretty bad on. So you definitely won't want this as your first tool, because although it's good on BMW, Mercedes and Volkswagen Audi Group, the menus are confusing. And you can't actually answer the question to whether you could actually take this job on or not. Therefore, absolutely useless at that point. Someone with a bit more knowledge, not a beginner. Our courses are designed for beginners. Someone with a bit more knowledge will find this tool very useful, but it's a bit more later down the line. We usually say this tool would be like your fourth purchase tool. You need something that's going to hold your hand, give you make, model, year, ideally that knowledge without having to load the tool up. Obviously, bringing us on to the Smart Pro, the last one in the review. Again, unique key for this one, which isn't a problem because it's not really any more expensive than the other options anyway. With a Smart Pro, you don't have to load the tool up, so we don't even need to look at the tool. This is the tool. This is what it is. It's called the Smart Pro, made by Advanced Diagnostics. If you was doing this Mercedes, you would need this key, you would need the OBD cable, and you'd need this, which is connected to this, to do the Mercedes programming. So yeah, that's the tool. But the good thing with this actual tool is it has its own website, and on that website you can access information. You can access everything you need to know. So I've got loaded up on the laptop here. Let's put that down. So on the laptop here, I've selected Mercedes Vito Europe, and if I select the year, that's not touchscreen, this one. If I select the year, it goes from 2007 to 2014. This is a 2012, so that will load up, and I can select onto here. Right, so scroll down. Right, so here it will tell me information. So the information it's telling me here, I've got a little smiley face. It's saying it's 4.1 out of 5, so it's pretty happy with it. There's some things that it's not happy with. They will be in blue and red on this here. So this information can be accessible on your phone, a tablet, or a Windows laptop, or Android, literally anything. It could be Apple. So it's just a web page that you log into. You log into once you get an account, once you purchase your tool. It's free to look at as much information as many times as you want, and you can use this information to ascertain whether you can actually do the job, what's required, what's not required, and yeah, it gives you. It's a unique job sheet for every single vehicle on there has its own job sheet. So it will show you here, it will program the transponder. The remote is programmed as part of the transponder, so you don't need to separately program the buttons. So it will program the starting of the vehicle, this remote, the starting of the vehicle, and the remote buttons are programmed at the same time. It's saying the PIN code is required to carry out key programming on this, but the PIN code is read by the Smart Pro and displayed to you and automatically entered into the program routine. So it's entered through there. So when you're programming, you can put the PIN code in, but the tool is actually going to read it. So this is really useful important information. We're not plugged into the vehicle. We're not even got the tool out the back of the van. And imagine if you're a locksmith on the road doing jobs. This is that quick access information, so you could actually have the customer on the phone. You're not saying I'll ring you back in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or an hour when someone gets back to me on Facebook. You're self-sufficient. You're not relying on external people to help you run a business. You've got all the information here. So it needs a PIN, but it's going to give you the PIN. It's a pre-coded key, which is fine. That's fine. We can cover all that in the training course. Is it possible to add a key, to add one key to the total number of existing keys without the need to erase existing keys? So is it possible to add keys? Yes, it is possible. So you can just add on top. You don't need to delete any keys. But the big red cross here is you must have a key that allows you to start the vehicle. Programming cannot be performed in an all keys lost situation. So it's very clear to tell you here that if a customer's got all keys lost, this tool doesn't work. Don't use it, don't book it in, don't waste your time travelling to the job, ordering a key in to get there to work out. You can't do the job. If a customer's got a working key that lets them start the car, then you can do it. But if they haven't, it's not going to be possible. And that's not a good thing. Obviously, it's red, it's not good, but at least we know. So the important thing that this video is to get across is not whether a tool covers it or doesn't cover it. I mean, the cheapest tool in the list, this one, will do all keys lost, so it's actually better. But it won't tell you whether it's going to pull the pin or not. So although it will do all keys lost, you might order the key, travel out, and it's all a waste of time. So we're not trying to say buy a tool that has good coverage. You need to buy a tool that has good documentation. So documentation is the most important aspect of whatever tool you choose, because that's what's going to help you book jobs in and be profitable. So here it will tell you the part number of the key that you need to order. So that's all in one place. So you can click on that and order the key. I'll see how much it is. And again, you're keeping the customer on the phone. You're not having to get back to them. Going further down, will it program the start of the vehicle? Yes. Will it program the remote automatically when it programs the key? Yes. Is the PIN code required by the system? Yes. Is the PIN code read by the tool? Yes. So that's good. Where's the PIN code coming from? Where's the source of the PIN code coming from? It's coming from the Smart Pro, and you need internet access. So it's even telling you that. So you need to know that you can get access to the internet, whether you're using the phone as a hotspot or accessing onto the customer's Wi-Fi. But the Smart Pro needs internet access to get the PIN code. Is it a pre-coded key? Yes. So we learn about that on the course. What immobilised system is it? It's SPS free. Will it add a key? Yes, it'll add a key. Is a working key required? Yes. So if that says working key required, yes, and the customer hasn't got a working key, then this tool doesn't work, because it says a working key is required here, and further up in the smiley face, it tells you a working key is required. So we'll scroll down. Gives you lots of other information. It even gives you a picture of the vehicle, which is handy. It shares its immobiliser system with Mercedes Viano. Shows you where the OBD port connector is, which is just up there. Where the VIN plate location is. And there's even a video here that will show you how to program the key on the vehicle, on this vehicle, before you're actually do the job. So say for instance I just press play on that, and you'll see here, so that is the screen of the Smart Pro. You can make it full screen if you want to. You just hover above it and then just put it onto full screen mode. But yeah, that's showing you step by step what is required to program this. So you can actually just watch this, make sure you're comfortable with it before you actually get involved with the actual job. So it's a really good feature. It doesn't have videos on absolutely everything it covers, because it covers thousands and thousands of vehicles, and most things are straightforward. But if it's a little bit more complicated, like this example, a Mercedes or a more complicated vehicle to cover, then yeah, that's why it's giving you a video. So you can just follow that step by step. You can pause it, read it. If you're slow at reading, or if although this is multilingual, you can have it in different languages. If your language isn't covered and you're not too up to speed with reading fast, that can be quite a problem for people. So you can't pause the programming as such. But with this, you can be one step ahead of where you are and know what it's going to ask you next. Like basically put in whatever it's asking there. I can't see because it's too small. But yeah, you can see that, pause it, follow it step by step in real life, watch it before you get to the job. I mean, that video's it's about halfway through, so it's only about 4 minutes, that video. So that's how long the job's going to be, and you'll know that before you even get to the job. Shows you the key programming location is the ignition switch in the dashboard. It tells you some useful information here, which I won't go through too much, but if there's anything special, it'll be useful information here, that can be quite handy. It even gives you a picture of what the original key looks like, and this is the actual original key here. So yeah, that's correct. It gives you a picture of what the key looks like, which is handy because, say for instance, your customers just spoke to someone and they given a quote for this Mercedes Vito. Being able to explain to the customer what the key looks like, saying that the lock button's at the top, the unlock button's the bottom left, and the boot button is on the bottom right with the Mercedes logo in the middle, and describing the shape of it or what it looks like, will give the customer confidence that you've worked with these vehicles before over somebody that's not got that information. So if we had this programmer, we don't get information. If we have this programmer, we don't get that information. So on the phone to the customer on their first call, you're explaining what their key looks like. That gives them a bit of confidence. So if you're quoting the same price as someone else, they're more likely to go with you because you seem more knowledgeable. So that can help get the job, which helps pay for the tools. This useful information here, as I've seen, it says battery support unit is required, and it's even telling you, like, making sure to do not press the remote button when inserting the newly programmed key. So when you're putting that key, the new key in the ignition, make sure you're not pressing any of these buttons because that can interrupt the programming. It says if it fails, do this. If it does this, it's saying that the if the Smart Pro programmer fails to write the new key in, or fails to detect a working key, check the ignition switch is clean from the base window. So because you can get a bit of fluff or dust on this little infrared section here, so where you're pushing that in the key, it's saying make sure that's clean. So it must be a common issue that they have on these vehicles. So it tells you a lot of information. It's telling you if something goes wrong, then do this. If this happens, do that. And as well as that, you've got your video that was showing you everything anyway. So that's just finishing off now there. Look, so yeah, this to cap it off, to finish it off, so we're not going on for too long. What you need in a key programmer is, obviously, everybody wants a cheap key programmer, and that is the most expensive one in this list. And on the training course, we don't just go through this tool, this tool, this tool. We go through a range of different tools, that are much less than all of these in cost. So wherever you are on your budget, if you've got £500 to spend, we can recommend a programmer for you. But the main thing to get across in this video is not to look at the cost of the tool, because again, it's the biggest, most expensive thing you're going to buy. You can run it from your own vehicle. It's not like you need a work premises or a van even. You could just run it out of your car. Your tool is going to be quite expensive, and that's what helps get the money back. Is documentation is what you're purchasing, not coverage. So even if all these tools covered the same vehicles, or a same percentage of vehicles, which they don't, this is by far the best tool in the middle, the Smart Pro. it's knowing that it covers that vehicle, which is the big thing. Knowing that you can get the PIN code, knowing of any things that you're going to run into. This tool will warn you about certain things that these tools will let you work on and break. So a lot of people break cars with these tools on the left and the right, not because they're bad tools, it's just they followed the on-screen instructions. They just shouldn't have been programming on that vehicle. So for an example, on this tool, all these three cover certain Range Rovers of the same year, and on that year Range Rover, you've got the VIN plate, the VIN number. So on the windscreen, somewhere you'll have the VIN plate location. Don't know where it is on these, but it's usually on the windscreen anyway. Go over to this vehicle, you'll see we've got the VIN number here. I mean, this is a perfect example because it is actually on the Evoque as well. So the 10th character of the VIN number on Range Rovers, perfect example that this was here actually, on Range Rovers is that you get the VIN number from the windscreen and you count 10 down, so 10 characters down, and if it's A, B, C, it's safe to proceed, but if it's D or higher, you shouldn't proceed. So what happens if it's D or higher is you'll go in, you'll program the key, got a different tool on this one, and it will wipe the dash. The dash won't start up, this won't start up, and the car won't start up, so it corrupts a lot of information, which is fine as long as you know, because then you wouldn't have done it. But on these programmers, it will just let you go ahead and do it and break it, where with this one, it will say check the VIN number, count 10 characters down and make sure it's A, B or C, make sure it's not D or E or anything higher than D, and it's not going to break it then. And that's just like, that information is in here in the web page when you log in. So it's like having someone that's been doing it 20 years, sat in the passenger seat, warning you of everything before you even take the job on, before you get there, where these programmers don't. So like I said, on the training course, we'll go through many more programmers. It's not just this or this. You haven't got to buy this. There's other alternatives, different options, different prices, different routes you can do it. And the big selling point on the course is obviously the course you're going to learn lots of information, and people have found it very, very valuable, and we've got lots of 5-star reviews which you can read through, the people that's attended the course. But regardless of that, the money you're paying for the actual course, you're going to save in not buying the wrong tool. So we're going to go through over 20 different options in equipment, not just these three. And you can easily save the money of the training course just by having that knowledge and support from us on which tool is going to be suiting what you want. If you're wanting to do bikes, or if you want to clone keys, or if you want to do trucks, or if you want to do all keys lost, lots of different scenarios and options, and we'll help slim down from 20, 30 tools that you have as options down to one that fits your budget. So for each tier, for each type of programming, we have a bronze level of tool, a silver level tool, and a gold level of tool. So whatever your budget is, as long as your budget is realistic, you're looking at spending over £500 on equipment, then we'll have ideally £1,000 really on equipment for something decent. Then we'll have a recommendation for you, and if you've got 20 grand to spend on equipment, we'll have a recommendation for you, and everything in the middle. So I hope you found the video useful. And just remember, when you're a locksmith, forget the videos you're watching on YouTube where this works really good on this vehicle, and that works really good on that vehicle, and that works really good on this vehicle, because that's once you're connected to the OBD port on the vehicle. You're not connected into the OBD, and while you're not connected to the OBD, you need all that information now while you're driving about, and that's the whole purpose of this video. So yeah, hope you find it useful, and we'll hope to see you on the course. Thank you.